I want to tell you, sometimes I get disappointed. You know? I love tools. I love tools. I have a whole tool shop back in Florida at my house in Florida. I have every tool. How many sledgehammers do I have, hon? 4 or 5 sledgehammers. And I got jacks that'll lift 7,000 pounds at a time, and I got all kinds of tools, anvils and vices and everything else. But I have a whole bunch of screwdrivers. But you know what? Sometimes my favorite screwdriver lets me down. This right here used to be my favorite screwdriver. Does that look like a screwdriver now? No, it doesn't look like a screwdriver now. And the reason it doesn't look like a screwdriver is I was using it one day, and right when I was expecting it to do the job of getting that screw tightened right in there just right, it failed on me and broke. Boy, I sure hated to lose that screwdriver. It was my favorite screwdriver. Well, this is another one of the ones that used to be my favorite screwdriver. It still looks like kind of a screwdriver, doesn't it? But you know, it won't turn a screw. Because when I was ready to turn that screwdriver bent and twisted, and it let me down. Everybody around there said, well, that's a junk screwdriver now. That'll never turn out to be anything. That's done. And then, this used to be my favorite screwdriver. But I was using it, hammering on it because I had to do something, I had to set a nail or something. And the end of it broke off. And it was useless. Totally useless. And everybody said, that screwdriver's never going to be worth anything. I'll just get rid of it. I'll throw it in the trash. And then look at this one. See how it's bent? What do you suppose happened to that screwdriver? Oops. I put it in a place it was just too tough, and it bent just like that. And what used to be my favorite screwdriver became worthless. It failed me. Everybody said, you might as well go ahead and throw that away. That'll never amount to anything. But I didn't throw them away. And you know why I didn't throw them away? They're not useless. That's right, Miles. In God's hands, we, as people, sometimes let him down. Sometimes we fail him, and we don't do what we're supposed to do. Sometimes we just refuse to do what he wants us to do. Other times we just do the wrong things, and he didn't ever want us to do that. And there are times when people look around and say, well, those people, but they let us down, so might as well throw them away. But God doesn't do that. God says, if there's a problem like we had with these screwdrivers, you see that one there? That's like what God does for us. He just said, you know what? I think I can still use that broken thing, that broken person. Now, I made a different kind of a tool out of that. You see, that's got a little bit of a fingernail on it like that on the side, and I can just reach into a spot where I can't get my big fat finger down in there, and I can lift out a little washer or something that I dropped. It's got a little magnet on the inside, and so I can pick up a nut that gets away from me, and I can reach in there and pull it. And this is the most useful little tool. I call it my sky hook. Okay? Well, if my screwdriver hadn't broken, I wouldn't have a tool I could make like that. God takes us, even when we let him down or fail him, and his grace is sufficient to make us into something special. You know what this one's used for? beat up, twisted old screwdriver? It's the best thing in the world to reach in and pull a staple out when I'm doing reupholstery. They stick those staples in so tight, and I slide that underneath the staple, and I pull down this way, and the staple just comes right out. It's the coolest tool. I never had one like that before. I'm so happy to have this tool. But if my screwdriver hadn't failed, I wouldn't have this. That's what God does with us. And this one, that has been turned into a little tiny chisel. And when I'm adjusting a door that doesn't want to close just right, and I need to chisel out just a little bit so that the hinge can be repositioned so that the door will close correctly or the latch will connect, that is an invaluable tool. And you know what I used it most frequently for? I went around a window that somebody had painted pretty badly, and I just took the paint right off the glass and smoothed it right up, right with that little sharp chisel on the end. If my screwdriver hadn't failed me, I wouldn't have that tool. I want you to understand, we talk about being God's people. We talk about doing what God wants us to do and really letting His Spirit move. Listen to me carefully. We can never fail so badly that God can't still show us His love and His grace and give us a chance to be useful in His kingdom. There's never a time when that happens. And we can have hope that it's not up to us. It's God's love that holds us together. And sometimes He reshapes us and remolds us. We don't necessarily have exactly the same role we had before. But God always finds a place for His people. God will always take care of us and use us if we let His Spirit guide us along every step of the way. Okay?